Hey, Cavs fans. Welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. I'm Alex. I'm here with Corey. What's going on, Corey?
Man, glad to be back talking some Cavs basketball. Lots have happened, lots going on, and lots of exciting things to talk about.
We can talk about some off-season moves that were made since we last recorded. Cavs made some moves for sure. Upgrades or not, to be seen.
I will say this. I give the Cavs credit. It feels like with the timing they delivered their moves, the cap space they had, etc. It felt very crafted. Like they were out the gate making moves, and it feels like they got their guys and with the limited resources that they had.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, limited resources, right? We had the MLE, we had a trade exception. Yep. I mean, we didn't have much to work with. Some guys on the roster that we could part with, some guys on the roster that we really don't want to part with, that was rumored that we were going to part with, right?
We'll get to that. Yeah, but let's start, man. Let's start with the free agency stuff because the Cavs have 3 new players on their roster with the 4th one kind of pending, and we'll get to that because it feels like it's up in the air now. But let's kind of go in order of when they happened as far as the signings, Alex.
Okay.
And day one, again, it was within just a few hours. They made that first signing, and what's one of the biggest needs we have said for years now, besides small forward, that the Cavs that we still need a small forward, by the way, that the Cavs have needed is shooting, right? And that's what the Cavs decided to really try to address this offseason. And they signed the minivan. Georges Niang from the Philadelphia 76ers. His nickname is the minivan.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where'd you hear that?
Oh, yeah. No. Even Mitchell. What's funny is when Woj or Shams, whoever announced it, eventually Mitchell retweeted it, and his quoted tweet was just minivan. So, I guess it's well known. And right. I heard about that from somebody else, and I'm sure if you look it up on Basketball Reference or something like that, it probably has it there too. But yeah, that's his nickname, minivan.
Minivan. All right. Hey, yeah. One of the best 3-point shooters in the league. I think that's a good addition for sure.
3 years, 26. 3 years, $26 million. He's basically a stretch 4. He's a power forward. And yeah, he can shoot the ball, and $8 million a year for a couple years. That feels like a safe signing, like a smart signing. And I'm interested to see what he could do. Watched him a little bit in the playoffs, hit some shots and stuff like that, and obviously have watched some highlights on him and so on and so forth. He feels like also an energy guy. He seems to get pretty amped up at times, which is, always good to see. And he can hit that 3 ball, which we desperately need. So he'll be a welcome addition. He won't be a starter or anything like that, right? He'll be coming off the bench, but it'll help bring some scoring and just shooting abilities off the bench, which we desperately need when Garland and Mitchell go out of the game.
Yeah, I think is a good addition. We need that stretch 4 ever since we let Kevin Love walk. I think Georges Niang kind of fills a similar role with his size and his shooting ability. His court vision, his passing is pretty good. I like this signing.
Yeah, and he actually has 2 nicknames. He's not only known as the minivan, but he's also known as the closer. He's 6'7", 230, so got a little bit of pudge, but his career numbers is he's 40% from 3. Career average. He's been playing in the league now for about 7 or 8 seasons now, so he's been around a little while. Not a household name by any means, but again, he'll be a welcome addition. He was drafted in 2016, and 40% 3-point career shooter. We'll take that all day.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched much tape on him, but I've I've scrolled through his stats on Basketball Reference, right? The thing
Yep.
that I like to see about him is the consistency. He's consistently shot 40% or more 3-point percentage over the last 5 seasons. And over the last
Right.
5 seasons, he's played a considerable number of games. Like he's rarely injured. He seems like he's always ready to go. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too, and I think he's basically replacing Kevin Love as you just called out. We needed that stretch big, and now we have that. He's at 6'7", so he's not super big, but again, with his frame, his body frame and stuff like that, hopefully he'll be able to sneak in there, grab a couple rebounds at times, take advantage of mismatches. When he switches out and a guard's on him or something like that in a pick and roll scenario, etc. So I'm interested to see what he could do. And he's a welcome addition. And once you're a Cav for life. So
That's right.
yeah. Yeah. So the next signing, this one was a little bit interesting because so day one was the Niang signing. The next signing was Max Strus, who was with the Miami Heat, who had just finished playing in the NBA Finals. And this one was a little bit weird, Alex, because stuff kind of started to leak out there, but it wasn't really official. And then people were questioning, well, is this real? Is this fake? And I saw somebody say, and I agree with it, they had a rule. If it's not Woj or Shams tweeting it, it ain't real.
Yeah.
But reports started to come out that, basically the Cavs agreed to a 4-year, $64 million deal with him. And, it was going to be a sign and trade and all that, but, not all the details are coming out. And, Woj and Shams weren't speaking on it. And then the second day of free agency is when it kind of finally broke. Woj was on ESPN or something like that, and he talked about the deal and so on and so forth. This one I feel has gotten the most kind of back and forth conversation from Cavs fans as far as, one, do they like the player? Is a good addition, so on and so forth. But really where the talking points are is the length of the contract, the size of the contract, the salary involved, and also what else it took to bring him in, because it took more than just salary. This was a sign and trade. So some pieces went out from the Cavs as well, Alex.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say Max Strus. I was down on him at first. I'm kind of coming around on it. I think
it only took 4 days for Alex.
Yeah,
4 days of watching YouTube highlights.
It's been an emotional roller coaster, Corey. I laughed, I cried, I watched some highlight. But yeah. After watching, watching Kobe Altman's media availability today, he talked quite a bit about why they targeted Strus, and he kind of sold me on it. Like I'm sold on the hype now. Like he does.
What did Altman say for those that haven't heard that yet? Because that just happened earlier today. Like, how did he sell you?
Man, Altman is such a good BSer. I don't know that I can even put into words like everything he said about Strus that brought me over, other than just talking about that he fills a need that we have at small forward. He's a shooter. He can space the floor. He's kind of a gravity guy that even when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's drawing players to him because he's a shooting threat, that he moves real well without the ball. He's a really great spot up shooter, but he's also a really great moving shooter. He's great with a guy in his face. He can make a shot. I think there were stats about making shots with a defensive player within 4 feet of him, and he had a real high make percentage. So that's good to see. Initially, I have to admit, looking through his stats, I was kind of like, well, last season he only shot 37% from three.
Yeah.
Cedi shot a better 3-point percentage than that, and we gave up Cedi to get Strus. And not only did we give up Cedi, we also gave up Lamar Stevens, who was our gritty defensive junkyard dog, hustle energy player. I mean, he just brought so much to the team, I think, when he was on the court and in the locker room. So that's, it's two pretty solid, uh, you know, Cavs players, fan favorites that we gave up to get him. And not just that, also the contract that Strus signed as part of that sign and trade was pretty significant. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah. So, echoing a lot of what you said, and this is where the argument was. A lot of folks felt like it was an overpay, and not only from a salary standpoint and length of contract standpoint, but to also give up two players that at various times you can plug in to be a rotational player, right? We've had our ups and downs with Cedi, right, over the years, but he's also proven that at times he could be, he can have great stretches of basketball. And same with Lamar Stevens. Lamar Stevens is just, man, if he was a Cleveland Brown, this city would love him even more, right? Because he's just that dog, you know what I mean? He's just
Yeah.
that energy guy, that low-key guy that the other fan base watching the game doesn't even know who he is, and he's just coming in, dunking on you and guarding your best defender and giving him, havoc. So that's two pieces to go out that, you relied on. And then on top of it, the contract. So, I again, it's a shooter. So I welcome that from what I've watched from the tape as well. I also saw, some dunks and things like that too. Like it feels like he can get to the rim too a little bit as well, which is nice. He's not just the stand and shoot kind of guy. Like you said, he moves well without the ball. He's a solid shooter when he's moving with the ball and a defender on him, etc. There are some things there I can see, that would excite the Cavs. But kind of where I'm at with it right now is he's 6'5". So to me, I don't know if he really feels that need at small forward because he's going to be shorter. He's going to be the shorter guy every night, night in and night out. If you make him your starting small forward, which by the way, I don't think the Cavs should do. I don't think he's strong enough to be your starting forward. But kind of where I'm at with that with that is I'm excited to see what he can do, but he's going to have to prove it to me that he was worth all of that. He was worth the money and he was worth giving up, the assets that the Cavs did. And I hope that he proves me wrong. And same thing with a lot of Cavs fans that are also arguing the same points.
I think one of the things that concerns me the most about it is actually our defense, right? Because we gave like Cedi plays solid defense, Lamar plays very good defense. We're bringing in Strus and Niang. Both are kind of not great defensive players. I wouldn't put them in the same realm as Cedi or Lamar on defense. So I feel like that's a little concerning as well.
Yeah, and another concern I saw a lot of Cavs fans talking about was he didn't have the greatest playoff run, right? And that's the basis for why a lot of fans were claiming that we overpaid. Well, guess what? Just about the whole starting lineup for the Cavs didn't have a very good playoff run, and some of our players are making $30+ million a year. Mitchell, Garland, Allen's up there at 20 mil. So, I don't read too much into that. That hey, he had a bad playoff run, he had a bad finals, whatever. He's not Jimmy Butler. He's not your second scoring option on the team. He should be like your fifth, sixth guy on a team that's competing for a championship like Miami was. So I don't put too much stock into that. But yeah, the defensive call out is valid because of the players that you lost, and the players coming in don't really have, that they don't have it tied to their names that they're solid on defense or anything like that. I've seen people argue, well, that's what Allen and Mobley is for. Yes, that's true, but there's going to be times where, both Allen and Mobley aren't going to be waiting for them, because those guys are coming off the bench and those guys are starters. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they get worked into the rotation. I think Strus will play heavy minutes. Obviously, he felt more like, to me, their number one guy they were targeting, just because of the length of the contract, the salary. They were willing to give up those assets. So I feel like they're going to treat him kind of like their sixth man, almost sixth or seventh guy, their first or second guy.
Still very young.
Yeah, still very young, has room to grow.
That age bracket is the rest of the core. Yeah.
Right. So they're gonna. I think they're gonna lean on him heavily next year. He'll play 25 minutes plus minutes or so, something like that. And I can't wait to see what he's able to do. That's what I want to see. But at the same time, he's got to prove it to me due to all those things, the salary, the assets that went out. He's got to earn the respect a little bit. So we'll see. By the way, he has no nickname, so that's kind of we got to fix that.
Strus has no nickname. Yeah,
no nickname
quickly,
that is documented. No nickname that is documented, at least online, that I can find. So we'll see.
All right.
So the next one, Alex, we'll kind of leapfrog here a little bit, and we'll get back to the last one here. I'm kind of excited about this one. This is kind of a low-key signing, and the more and more I hear or kind of just watch, highlights and stuff like this, I'm kind of excited because, we love Ricky Rubio, right? Had a great debut season when he came here. Then the injury happened. He comes back last year, but really was never, I remember one game where he looked like his former self and kind of was a shell of himself and kind of still felt like in that rehab, process. On top of it, he has made public comments of saying, like, I don't know how much basketball I have left. And he talks about his kid getting older and wanting to be able to spend time with his family and stuff like that. Like, Rubio, to me, doesn't feel like a guy that's going to make it to 38, 39, 40 years old in the NBA. He's going to be like that 35-year-old. Nah.
His kid's getting older. Like, oh, you're talking about LeBron already?
No. We ain't going down that path.
Yeah, Rubio.
But this move that the Cavs made felt like a little bit of an insurance policy. If Rubio doesn't quite, the injury just isn't right, or he has another injury or something like that. And the Cavs signed Ty Jerome to 2 years for $5 million. So not a household name by any means. But Alex, I'll let you talk first. Have you looked into him, looked at his stats, watched any video on him yet, and do you have any initial impressions?
This one is going to be tough for me because I don't know a whole lot about Ty Jerome. I don't know if have you done any reading on him?
Yeah. So just a little bit. Okay. Just a little bit. And I don't, it is what it is. We got to see what he can actually do on the court. But he's been in the league for 4 years now. He played with Philadelphia, Phoenix, and then he was with Golden State last 2 years, actually. And he probably had some opportunities to play a little bit more than what he probably would have the last year or two in Golden State, just because there was off and on injuries. Curry was injured for a while. I think Clay was injured again at some point. And what I like about Ty Jerome is he's listed as a shooting guard, but I've seen him run point as well. He's 6'5", so he has some size if he is running point for you. And just from the videos I've seen, he feels very crafty to me. You look at him, you don't think very much of it, and then all of a sudden he just makes this flick pass, this no look flick pass, or this no look flick shot, just like a floater or something like that. I think Cavs fans are, if he gets a chance, to actually play, I think Cavs fans are going to like him. And as far as career numbers, he's averaging 7 points per game, just shy of three assists per game. And from three, he's shooting 35%. So, he's not a 3-point shooter per se, but, 35% isn't that far from, what did you say for Strus? What was he, 36, 37 or something like that? 30. Yeah, so he can knock down a shot at times too, it feels like as well.
And that was 37% last season for Strus. The season before that, he actually shot 41%. So,
got it. Yeah, and 2 years, $5 million. Again, it's a real, cheap contract. The one buddy I always text with seemed really excited about him. He knew his background a little bit better. He's like, that's a steal for what we got him for that contract. And I started watching some highlights, and yeah, like I said, he looks very crafty. And I'm interested to see what he can do. But again, I only think he's going to get runtime on the court for the Cavs if Rubio isn't working out. So I'm not pulling for Rubio not to work out just so that Ty Jerome can get minutes. But you know how it is. There'll be some sort of injury or some sort of situation where he'll get his time. And I'll just be curious to see what he can do with that.
Mm-hmm. And we still have Merrill as a guard who's playing in summer league right now, trying to earn a spot.
Yep. He's your twin. I swear, you guys both have the comb over. Like, you are Sam Merrill's brother. You're his lookalike. I was watching him tonight in the game. I was going to wait till we talk summer league to talk about it, but yeah, now that Windler's gone, that era has come to a close. I used to say you look like Windler. Now you're Sam Merrill. So
I think I'm just the white guy, Corey.
yeah.
I'll be Luke Travers if I grow out the mullet.
Yeah. There was one more move that the Cavs made during the first 2-ish days of free agency, because all these moves that the Cavs made were like within the first 72 hours or something like that. But they made a trade with Utah. And no, it wasn't bringing back Colin Sexton. No, it wasn't bringing back, Marketing or anything like that, or Abazi. But probably a player that not a lot of folks know about, but a young big, Damien Jones. I don't know a ton about him, but what's interesting on this was that it wasn't a free agency signing, it was a trade. And what was weird about it was the Cavs were just absorbing his contract. There was like nothing going back to Utah. And I saw people questioning, like, well, how is that even a legal trade? And what's interesting, Alex, is all three of the signings that we just talked about are all made official. Like the Cavs have tweeted out that they've officially signed, because just yesterday was the first day that they could officially sign, even though free agency started a couple of days prior. I'm pretty sure Altman acknowledged all three of those signings in his media, presentation today. But the Damien Jones thing hasn't been made official, and I really haven't heard what's going on with that from any of the beat writers. So just kind of interesting there. And, he's young. He doesn't have a ton of experience. He played with Golden State. He won 2 championships technically because he was on the roster or whatever. And, he's a big, and we desperately need a big. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that, if anything, at this point.
Right. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him since, day one, since that trade was announced. Yeah. And even then it was very little. But yeah, like you said, we have a need for a big. Robin Lopez is no longer with the Cavs. So there's definitely
he signed with his brother. He signed with his brother actually in Milwaukee.
Oh,
so
did he?
That's kind of cool.
Oh,
yeah, I saw that just the other day. Yeah. So that's kind of the moves that they made. And I guess let's real quickly, we touched base on Cedi and Lamar, but also, some other Cavs players that, were here last season, won't be here next season. The Dylan Windler era has finally come to a close. Again, we poked fun at it, but at the same time, we wanted Windler to work out. We were excited about him when we traded for 4 second rounders for him. He was supposed to be our shooter, and so on and so forth. And it just didn't work out. He's kind of had some bad luck with injuries. I haven't even heard any teams showing interest in him. So even though we're glad that he's gone, he's off the books, I do hope he lands on his feet somewhere and gets a chance to play basketball again on an NBA court at some point. He'll probably bounce around in the G League for a little bit is my anticipation, but hopefully he'll get a call up at some point and be able to do his thing.
Yeah, as far as I know, he's still a free agent.
Yep.
Yeah, probably headed for the G League. Hopefully somebody picks him up. I would like to see him succeed at some point. It's been pretty disappointing so far.
Yeah. The other one is Diakite. I always say his name wrong, but the Cavs basically let him become an unrestricted free agent. They didn't bring him back. And what's weird is I saw a tweet today from Diakite that just said, "I am confused." That's all it said. And it was just weird because it was also like the Cavs media day with Altman speaking. The Cavs are tweeting out, their official signings and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's directly to, the Cavs or something completely else. I don't know. But I saw some comments from fans saying, the Cavs should have brought you back and things like that. And I don't know. We'll see if he might have been good to keep around. He probably would have been cheap. I don't know. They need a big, right? And, at times he was able to come in, bring some energy, do some things when we needed to. Not someone you want to have to heavily rely on, but especially like if this Damien Jones thing doesn't work out, well, you're right back to square one where you still need a big.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, he was 6'9". He was, a 4 really.
Right.
26 years old. Didn't play a whole lot. He only played 22 games for the Cavs last season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He probably doesn't have much higher of a ceiling, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So out of the I guess those 4 players that were shipped out, if there was one that you could have kept on the Cavs roster, who would you have picked?
It's a good question.
Yeah. And I know it's really only between 2. It's probably between Cedi and Lamar.
Oh, you're including the trades.
Oh yeah, because the 4 the Windler, Diakite, Cedi, Lamar all went out the door. There might have been a 5th one. I can't think of it right now. But those are the 4 that are coming to mind. If there was one you could have kept on the roster, who would you have kept?
Well, I'm probably going to take some flack for this, but I'm actually going to say Lamar Stevens.
I'm there with you. I'm there with you.
I think just his defense, and I feel like a lot of people would probably say Cedi because he's a good player also and a fan favorite. He was really streaky. Like he'd have some really hot games. But I think Lamar Stevens is just on the verge of becoming like a really good rotational player in having his niche role that he'll fill for some team.
Yeah, I will say this. We didn't talk about this. Cedi and Lamar both went to San Antonio, so they got Popovich as a coach, right? And they just had the number 1 draft pick. And I'll be curious to see how Popovich uses both Cedi and Lamar. And I hope they flourish out there. I really do. Because, that's a team that is obviously rebuilding. They're going to have some painful years. So there should be room, minutes wise for both of them to get some run and allow them to build up their stock at the same time. But I'm with you. I would have picked Lamar because to me, you brought in Strus to replace Cedi. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Cedi has been here his whole career, which was 6 years now. He's had his ups and downs, and it was just time to move on. Stevens though does things differently than what any of those other players can do, than what Cedi did, than what Niang does, and what Strus will do, which is bring that defensive mentality, that toughness mentality, and just none of those players have that. So I would have kept him around just for that. Because you kind of already replaced the shooting with the pieces that you brought in.
Exactly. Stevens, I feel like, just changes the energy on the floor when he goes into a game.
Yeah.
And, maybe I should have just copped out and said Danny Green.
Oh, that was maybe the 5th one. That was maybe the 5th one because I haven't heard anything about Danny Green.
He's a free agent.
I haven't heard. Yeah, he's a free agent. I haven't even heard any interest from other teams. I knew there was a 5th one. But we need somebody to lock down Julius Randle when we play the Knicks again in the playoffs. So you got to bring Danny Green just back for that. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, crazy.
Yeah. I don't know.
So a couple other roster things with the Cavs. So the Cavs, the NBA changed their rules a little bit. You can now have 3 two-way contracts, Alex. So teams will have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the 2-way contracts. So Amoni Bates, Isaiah Mobley, Craig Porter Jr. are all already signed to 2-way contracts. The Cavs officially announced that today on their Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. Again, something else I'm sure that was talked about a little bit in the media presentation by Altman as well. So those players, you'll see mixed matches of those two going back and forth throughout the year. And hey, maybe Isaiah Mobley becomes that backup big that we need, right? Do you have are you surprised at all with any of those 2-way contracts, or is there somebody else that you would have slated in there?
No, I'm not surprised by any of those. I think that's fine. I am curious to know. I need to look and see what veterans are still out there as free agents that might, sit on the bench and just be a good locker room guy, because I don't know that we have anybody on the team that's just like, veteran leadership, been there, done it. No, I think it would help to have that.
Yeah. I mean, Rubio is probably got the most tenure now. Probably Rubio at this point. Now that Love is gone. Mitchell might even be the next guy after that. There's got to be somebody else. Like Niang's been around a little while, 7 years. Mitchell's, I think, is around that 7-year mark as well, 6 or 7 year mark. So, but Rubio has been around, longer than all of them, and he's probably your biggest voice right now. But I agree, having another veteran in there, maybe a big veteran, would be good as well. I'm not surprised by any of the two-way contracts. I mean, Bates was their draft pick. That makes sense. Don't just give him a spot, make him earn it. He's a second round pick, a 49th pick. You don't know what you're going to get with him. So you don't want to just take up a valuable, roster spot by just saying, hey, you made the team, Mobley, that makes total sense. He's going into his second year now. At times he's been able to show flashes of things, and he'll continue his development. Kirk Porter Jr., I don't know a ton about him. I'll learn more about him in Summer League by watching him play and stuff like that. And that's the one that intrigues me the most, that they just kind of signed him. That tells me that they have some excitement around him to give him that two-way contract before really seeing this Summer League play out, because I really felt like the Summer League could have been, potentially a tryout for that third two-way contract slot. And they already gave it to Porter Jr., who's a guard. So I'll be keeping my eye on him. I don't think he'll get a lot of run, obviously, for the Cavs, because you got, Garland, you got Rubio, you got Ty Jerome. But, we'll see what he's able to do. And I'm not overly concerned about what they have for the two-way contracts. Yep. Another one I just thought of too that's gone from last year is Neto.
Yeah, Neto's gone.
Neto's gone, and I like Neto.
Yeah, I like Neto a lot too. I thought he was
he's scrappy.
He was a good guard. Yeah, he was scrappy. He'd get in there and yeah. I always thought, I never felt like we were compromising by having him on the court. I always felt like he did a good job of distributing and running the offense.
Yeah, so when you think about it, that's a lot of turnover. 6 players going out from last year's team. That's a pretty solid number of turnover. And you're going to see some new faces with the 3 free agent signings, a 4th if that Damien Jones trade actually becomes official. On top of it, Alex, the Cavs still have 2 roster spots left. They're sitting at 13 right now. So, Summer League's going on right now. Maybe they entertain somebody with that spot, and maybe they go out and get a veteran. They don't have a lot of money, though, is the problem. Like they have, I think less than 4 or 5 million combined with what they have left on the MLE and whatever else they had to sign somebody. So it's not going to be most likely a household name, but they're obviously going to have to do something to fill those roster spots. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. There's always the option of making a trade, but I think the Cavs have made it pretty clear, despite some of the kind of crazy rumors that were out there for a little while during the first couple of days of free agency. The Cavs decided, we're not blowing this thing up. We're not breaking up the core 4. We'll add on to it. And I felt overall they did a solid job. If I had to grade them, I would give them a solid B for the moves that they made with the resources that they had.
Yeah. Bring in a veteran, somebody on the vet min, maybe Big Perk.
Bring him back coming out of retirement. He's looking to get a pay raise and get a new job with all those layoffs that happened at ESPN. That's crazy. But man, he's going to move up the food chain. Maybe he's going to be, what's that show? Undisputed. Maybe he's going to make, because Shannon Sharp left. Maybe it'll be Perk. Can you imagine that?
Oh boy.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But also too, I thought it was kind of funny that Altman addressed the Darius Garland rumor. Do you remember that? That was a rumor for 3 hours.
Yeah.
That the Cavs would, are open to trading Darius Garland, basically. Was that the one that Amico started? Alex, do you remember?
I don't know who started it.
I think that was the one that Amico said.
Oh, please say it's not so, Sam.
And you said something like he hasn't had a solid lead since, I don't know. You said something good, but that one was out there, quickly shut down. Like Altman said today, that's one of the craziest rumors he's ever heard in his life. And then there was some stuff out there about Jared Allen. Maybe that was the one Amico started. I don't remember. But basically that, the Cavs are more open to entertaining, trading Jared Allen than what's been advertised. And that was quickly shut down today by Altman as well. That core four, the team, won 51 games last year, made it to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They want to see what it can do. And I think that was the right call.
I'm still trying to think of some veteran bigs we can bring in here. Big Perk's probably out. What about Spencer Hawes? What's he up to these days?
I don't know.
Henry Sims.
Henry Sims. Bring him back. Yeah, so we'll see what the Cavs end up doing here. I know some Cavs fans were clamoring, make some kind of big move, big trade kind of thing. But I think you run it back, and there's a trade deadline, right? That chatter will come right back up again if things aren't looking that great. So there's one free agent signing, Alex, that we should have started off with, but we didn't.
Yeah,
and that's a bad job out of me.
I thought you were saving it for the end because it's kind of a
okay. All right.
It's a known quantity, right?
Yeah. So we wanted to end it with the moves that the Cavs made, which was actually the first move the Cavs made was bringing back LeVert.
Yeah,
there was a lot of speculation. Yeah. There was a lot of kind of like it felt like there was mutual interest from the reports that you heard going into free agency. But it's like, well, is there going to be some other team out there that's going to just outbid the Cavs? Just give him some, 4-year, $20 million a year contract. Like Indiana. He goes back to Indiana or something crazy like that. And I think a lot of fans seem to be satisfied with the deal that was given to LeVert. It was a 2-year deal, $32 million. What's your take on the deal? Are you happy they brought back LeVert? And just what are your thoughts?
I feel like they overpaid a little bit. I think just seeing like some of the other signings that happened that were for players that were as impactful as LeVert was to the Cavs and made substantially less money. DiVincenzo, who's the guy for the Lakers that just got signed? You know who I'm
Cam
talking
Reddish?
About? No. Cam Reddish. The Lakers.
Yeah, he got signed by the Lakers. No. Lakers, man, they had an offseason. They brought in 4 or 5 pieces. I think Gabe Vincent was one. I think that's his name from Miami as well.
The white dude.
I don't hell if I know.
Oh, come on. What? Really?
If it ain't Delhi.
The one that was in all the memes of LeBron talking to
Austin Reeves or whatever his name is.
Reeves. Yeah, he signed for significantly less money. DiVincenzo, less money. I mean, all these guys.
I like LeVert. I know LeVert gets a bad rap, and he has his moments where it's like, dude, stop dribbling the ball, stop doing ISO ball, you're doing too much, so on and so forth, right? But 2 years, I think the reason why I like the contract is because it's only 2 years. Because if he has another rocky year this year where it's up and down, you can't really figure out where do you play him, because I think the Cavs will experiment with starting him in the starting lineup again now that they brought in Strus. And you have a Kuro on the bench as well. So it's like, I wonder if they'll take another run at him starting again. And if that doesn't really work out, and, well, guess what? The following season, he comes off your books. He's an expiring contract, right? He becomes trade bait, or he just comes off your books. You're not committed to him for the next 4 or 5 years, $125 million or something crazy like that. And we know he could score. He could fill it up, and he could do some things. So is it an overpay? Maybe, but it's an overpay by like a few $1 million, in my opinion, right? Yeah. It's not like we overpaid, $5+ million for him and, per year or anything like that.
Right.
Based on market value, you weren't going to get him for $12 million a year or something like that.
Yeah. Altman talked a little bit about it in his presser today. And just that he was like the first one that they wanted to, re-sign and get locked down, because he was their 6th man, just how versatile he is to the team, that they can plug him in as a starter if they need him to be a starter. They can put him on the bench as a scoring threat when they need him. And
he can produce, right?
Yeah,
it's just, it's not always consistently, but he has shown that he can produce. And he's shown that for prior to his time with coming to the Cavs, in Indiana as well, and when he was with Brooklyn. So he can fill it up. And the Cavs were smart enough to realize, well, the Cedi Osmans, the Lamar Stevens, those guys weren't going to be able to do that, kind of fill that gap if they lost LeVert. Again, I'm just glad we didn't get into some bidding war with some other team. It felt like LeVert wanted to be here, kind of hometown kid kind of discount thing. And hey, LeVert's going to be around for another season at least or two, and we'll see how he's used and what he's able to do this year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of moves for the Cavs, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting, again, 6 faces to be going out. Maybe we'll get even more. We think about it more, but 6 is a significant number of going out. And, you already got, at least 3 new faces coming in, and they still have 2 roster spots left. So, that starting lineup is basically intact still. But really your bench is what's going to look different now. And I'm excited to see what they can do. Have some scoring, some different kind of scoring coming off the bench with the shooting that they brought in. So again, I think the Cavs did a great job for what they were able to work with this offseason. And it's not over yet too. There's still time left this offseason. We'll see if they pull anything else out of the rabbit out of the hat kind of thing.
Yeah, Altman talked a little bit about that, keeping the core 4 together, and in reiterating that this was a 51-win team. So he didn't want, you don't want to shake that up too much. You want that young core to continue to grow together. And somebody asked him about like the Denver Nuggets winning the championship this year and how they built kind of through the draft, and they had some setbacks, they had some growth, and they tinkered with the roster by adding small pieces from free agency, but ultimately growing through the draft and bringing Jokic along. It was his 8th season, and just comparably how young our core still is. What is Evan Mobley going to be by season 5? What is Evan Mobley going to be by season 8? Will he be Jokic? Probably not, but you never know. So.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. Again, I agree with not blowing it up. It's too early to blow it up. You got to see where you're at come mid-season this year, make another playoff run, see how you look, and then next off season will be a big one. There'll be some decisions to be made. There'll be the whole Donovan Mitchell drama and all that stuff as well. But for this year, for this off season, they did what they needed to do, and they addressed the shooting concerns. Still a couple other areas they got to address. They still have time, and we'll see what they end up doing with it.
Yep.
So, Alex, the other thing we wanted to touch base on is, we're continuing the tradition of recording when there's a game on.
Yeah.
And we got to kind of watch the first half, but we kind of been recording during the second half here, and this game is actually getting ready to be wrapped up. So the Cavs had their first summer league game tonight against the Brooklyn Nets. And we got to see some debuts. We got to see Bates. We got to see some other debuts from Pete Nance, Craig Porter Jr., along with some familiar names: Sam Merrill, Isaiah Mobley, Luke Travers is back. He's currently at a plus 18 right now. I love it. 13 points. So I know you got to watch a little bit of the game before we started recording. Did you just have any initial takeaways from what you saw so far, or if you're looking at the box score now, kind of catching up, from what you're seeing here in the box score?
I mean, I saw very little of it. I was watching a stream that just kept dropping, and the quality was crappy. I was really hoping to get to see more of some of these guys play, especially like some of the unknowns, right? Like Pete Nance. That's a big name, some potential there. Interesting to see what happens with him. Guess Merrill looked pretty good. He was distributing. He was grabbing a lot of rebounds, getting a lot of assists. I thought Merrill looked pretty good. Isaiah Mobley looked, like he was in his element. Amoni Bates was running the court. He was playing extremely aggressive and missing a lot of shots. He was just trying to force it too much, I think.
What was cool though with Bates was he ended up scoring the first points of the game for the Cavs. He grabs a rebound, dribbles down the court, pulls up for a 3-pointer, nothing but net. So he scores the first points for not only the game but in his career, his NBA career, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's up to 16 points right now, 6 rebounds. Has played about 28 minutes. But yeah, the Cavs, they just jumped out on the Nets in that first quarter. They just had a lot of energy and kind of never really look back. They were in control of the game going into halftime. I think they had about a 14-point lead. The third quarter was a little bit rough. They let the Nets go on a run and got back in it. But it looks like the Cavs are going to sneak out the win. There's about 2 minutes left, and they're up 93-87. And just looking at some other items here in the box score, I called out Luke Travers. Always a pleasure watching him. I mean, last year the internet was just, the Cavs fans were just going nuts on Twitter. Just his look, his style of game, and it feels like he picked up where he left off last year. He has 13 points, 6 rebounds. I saw him make this like no look behind his head pass.
Too.
That was awesome. That was awesome. He blocked somebody, and he blocked somebody at the rim. He's grabbing rebounds. He's just, I don't know if he's ever going to have an NBA career per se, but I would love to watch more of him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching him. And then Sam Merrill, like you said, he was great. He had, by the end of the first quarter, he had 8 points and 6 rebounds. He's up to 12 points. And then Cooper to me was who looked the most aggressive. He was hitting threes. He was driving to the rim. He's at a -3 right now, but he's up to 22 points in this game. And he's a leading scorer for the Cavs. So it's just fun watching basketball. I saw a lot of Cavs fans on Twitter just saying like, today's the day, and making predictions and things like that. It's just, when you go 2.5 months with no Cavs basketball, you clamor for it. And a lot of people seemed to be excited. It's a Friday night, got to watch some Cavs basketball basically. And it was just kind of cool to see people, united again online and talking what they were seeing.
Yeah, for sure. Summer leagues. I love summer league.
Yeah, it's good.
To see so many guys play that you don't ever get to watch play, and guys that they got a chip on their shoulder, and they're trying to make a team, and that's just exciting. Everybody loves an underdog, right?
Yeah, totally. And we'll see what comes of it. Like I said, there's 2 spots open. It's I don't know how likely it is that one of these guys will grab it, especially with their two-way contracts already taken. But you never know. Somebody could really show out and impress them, and maybe somebody grabs one of those slots here. So they have, I think, 4 more games after this, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 games in total they play before the tournament and all that stuff. So yeah, for the next couple days, there'll be summer league games, and we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on them, Alex.
Yep.
Awesome. So lots of great stuff going on right now. Again, we're really in the thick of the off season, free agent signings, people coming, people going, summer league basketball action. And it feels like, even though it's still a whiles away yet, it feels like basketball is going to be right around the corner. You know how this time of the year moves. Summer will move by fast. The kids will be back in school before we know it. And Cavs basketball won't be too far from there. So looking forward to it. All right, Alex, let's wrap up this episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. Want to thank you, Cavs fans, as always, for tuning in and listening. And Alex, let them know where they can go ahead and follow us and connect with us.
Follow us on Twitter at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, Tumblr. Watch us on YouTube. You can see our mugs on and watch this podcast.
You can watch Sam Merrill. Sam Merrill is on the podcast. I'm telling
Sam
you.
Merrill and
Alex, you got the
Corey cutting his own hair.
That's right.
Well, you usually were going to do a better job for this episode, Corey.
I did. I cut it like a week ago. It looks fine.
Oh, are you sure? All right, we'll go with that. It looks fine. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Everybody,
yours a little bit longer. You got
check
the
out the
comb over
YouTube
right
video.
now, so you got the Sam Merrill. You got the Sam Merrill going on.
Drop a comment. Let us know what you think about Corey's hairdo.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Cavs fans, there it is. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.